Now this video is an update on the progress of my musical, and it's in response to one of you. In my video where I pitched the idea, I shared a one-paragraph synopsis of the story. But in a recent comment, NC Bluesman, and I hope I'm saying this right, said, but what was missing was a logline. Dude, where's your logline? So here it is, challenge accepted, and this is how I come up with it. But what is a logline? Why is it so important? And what's the logline of my story? Hi, I'm Scott. You're watching Inside Musicals, the channel for all things musical theatre. Now, I love writing, but it always feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's like write, refine, write, revise. So anything that gives me clarity, anything that helps me understand whether the story I think I'm telling is the story that's on the page is a good thing. And that's why I've taken up this challenge. So what is a logline? Typically, it's that 1-sentence elevator pitch, the sizzle, the intrigue, the hook to get someone interested in your story. So the logline for HAIRSPRAY, for instance, and I'm quoting here, is a pleasantly plump teenager, Tracy Turnblad, teaches 1962 Baltimore a thing or two about integration after she lands a spot on a local TV dance show. That sounds more like a TV guide blurb than a writing tool, but it contains some essential elements of story. And according to Blake Snyder's book on screenwriting, Save the Cat, which I'd heard of but never read till a few days ago, so thanks for the heads up, NC Bluesman, a logline is the first thing you should do before an outline or synopsis. Naughty me. Because it contains the essential building blocks of a story. And Save the Cat, which for this exercise I'm going to follow, says a good logline should combine the hero or main character with a goal and a problem and a sense of irony to bring it together. And some sources suggest adding the inciting incident, which sounds useful, so I'm going to use that too. A pleasantly plump teenager, Tracy Turnblad, teaches 1962 Baltimore a thing or two about integration after she lands a spot on a local TV dance show. Now, Save the Cat adds some additional elements depending on the genre of the story. And because genre determines certain conventions of the story, that's where I'm going to start. Now, central to my story is the idea of long-held relationships and how we not only develop connections, but take each other for granted. We harbour resentments, secrets, unresolved tensions. And I wanted to contrast the complexity of that with the naivety of the pantomime. My main character has a chip on his shoulder. He cannot let go of the past, and he's his own worst enemy. So out of the 10 genres outlined in Save the Cat, the best fit for my story is rites of passage, about someone with a life problem who's on the wrong track. But an internal struggle on its own may not make for a compelling or active logline. So I'm going to save all of that for my B story, my thematic exploration, for my character's personal journey. For the A story, the overall story that draws in all the characters, I need to externalize those forces, things that push those buttons, force the issues, and embody those pressures in other characters. So for the first element of my logline, the hero, the main character, the one with the greatest potential for change, I need a defining characteristic, an adjective. Now, I know he's an actor in the pantomime, so logically I might say, well, what kind of actor? Temperamental, talented, ambitious, washed up. But then maybe acting is not the most important characteristic for the story. Maybe that's just what he does, his situation. As a person, he's vulgar, insensitive, disillusioned, self-important. He's burned all his bridges, and his biggest flaw, as I said earlier, is he cannot let go of the past. So which of these to use? I mean, that may come down to where he most needs to change, because no one wakes up in the morning wanting to change. For that, we need some kind of catalyst. That's where the inciting incident comes in. So I'm going to wait to define that characteristic until I have a goal and a problem, so I can find some kind of irony between them. Now, the inciting incident happens early in the story, and it's different from a point of no return that happens later. It's a thing that upsets the status quo for the main character and sets the story in motion. So it could be the arrival of a new character, a death, a change of circumstance, or even a consequence of an innocuous action by the main character. But whatever it is, it has a snowball effect that creates a new goal for the story. Not necessarily something the character wants, but something that now becomes necessary. And this goal establishes stakes. In The King and I, this might be where the king reneges on his promise to give Anna a house outside of the palace as agreed. This creates a new story goal for her, to get what she was promised, which is above and beyond her initial reason for coming to Siam, which is to educate the children, to foster a more modern Siam. So I've come up with an inciting incident for my story, which comes as a result of the main character's self-serving actions. So it says something about him right from the very beginning. He organises an interview with a journalist as a puff piece on himself to celebrate the 35th anniversary of this pantomime. But when the article comes out, it's a hatchet job. It's a cancel culture character assassination that the producer of the pantomime can't ignore. And this establishes a story goal. So this guy's place in the pantomime is now untenable. But as a writer, if I simply fire him, the story's either over or it's not the story I wanted to tell. Plus, it wouldn't be a story of transformation without some ritual humiliation. So instead of firing him, I forced him to stay with the production to train his own replacement. So now we have some conflict in the form of an antagonist and a problem, or two. This replacement is a much younger actor, which makes the other older cast look odd playing the roles of children. So they're demoted to the secondary roles and the younger cast are promoted to the leads. And this is where those simmering unresolved tensions start to boil up in the B story. The other problem, and this is part of the comedy of the show, is the backstage culture of the pantomime. I mean, this is old school theatre that hasn't changed for decades. So there's no lines that can't be crossed, no boundaries. Whereas the younger cast expect a modern, emotionally safe workplace. How dare they? So there's a clash of cultures. So now we have our main character, inciting incident, goal, and a problem. Let's create our logline. Now, it doesn't have to tell the whole story, just convey the potential for conflict. And because this is a comedy, the potential for fun and games. Okay, here it is. When a beloved pantomime falls victim to cancel culture, a vulgar, self-important actor fights the indignity of having to train his much younger, ambitious, straight-laced replacement. So compared to my original pitch, does this one sentence help you imagine how that training might play out? The kind of chaos that might descend on these rehearsals, and how this loss of dignity might force the main character to reassess his life. Now, I've seen some criticism online for the save the cat process, with writers railing against this idea of writing a logline before the script. It's not a rule, it's just a strategy, and if it works, it works. And I think when you're learning the craft, it's worth keeping an open mind, because I found these absolutely useful. Challenging, and I think it's taken the story in a different direction, but useful. And I wish I'd tried it earlier. It forced me to sift through the detail of the story to find what matters, what has consequence. And now I think I'm clear about my A story, my B story, C, D, and E, and how to bring them all together. So NC Bluesman, if that's your real name, thanks for the kick in the pants, in the nicest way possible. And thank you all for watching. I do love you. To the next update, get out there and be brilliant.